Our faith teaches us that there is a heaven. And because there is such a place, there must exist such a place as hell. But what our teachings omitted, Paul, is that hell and this place are one and the same. We exist in a space that blurs the damned and the living.
We got Flat Earth Brothers here with us today. He's in the building. Got some questions for you. Got his shirt right there. That is really, really nice shirt. How did you come up with that shirt?
Well, people kept asking for shirts, and I thought, how on earth? I'm not somebody that can just like buy a printing press and start making shirts, but I found a website that makes them for you, and then you could link it under your video so people can buy them. And seemed like a good idea, but really I just did it so I could get a shirt.
Wow.
People think I'm doing it for the money. I just wanted a shirt, and you can put them there. If people want them, they can buy them. If not, they don't have to.
You know, I like the motto. It says, exposing lies to open eyes. That is really, really cool. Really, really nice there. So I have a couple of questions for you. I've been watching you on YouTube really recently, and, you know, you were one of the videos that really told me more about the earth being flat and everything. And as I was watching some of your videos, I became, I guess the right word is intrigued, right? Intrigued by how you made the connection between, you know, God and the earth being flat, which is not really what other flat earthers are doing. First of all, do you consider yourself a flat earther, or is it just, you know, a man that knows the earth is flat?
Yeah, I think it's kind of ironic that I have the title Flat Earth Brothers as my channel name, because it's more of a biblical earth. I don't really like the word flat earth, and I've thought about dropping the name many, many times, because the earth shape, we really don't know its entire shape. And I think that's one of the reasons the Bible tells us not to even have a model of the earth in Exodus, to have anything above the earth, under the earth, and all of that. And so when you see the globe model, and many of us have had globes, owned them, that's actually spoken against straight from the Father. And I never knew that until I came into this.
You know what? There's so many things that God speaks about, and a lot of people who serve God have no idea about what the scriptures are saying. You know, when they go to look up the scripture and they say, oh, well, you know, this is what God says. Like, for example, the birthdays and the Christmas, you know, so many people, you know, they believe that Jesus was born on Christmas, and it's like Christmas has nothing to do with Jesus, you know, and, you know, this is where they get all caught up again. So when I was having this discussion with another brother about the way the earth is shaped and the way God created it, he told me that he can see planets from his telescope. He says, so you mean to tell me that planets, that what I saw through a telescope was not what I saw? And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I didn't know how to come up with an answer with that.
That's one that every day I see that comment on YouTube in my videos is, all the planets are round, the moon is round, the sun is round, and the earth is flat. You're telling me the earth is the only flat planet? And that's a hard thing for people to get past, because it sounds really dumb, but the earth is not a planet. The planets are not really what we can land on. They're not structures we can land on. They're the chief stars, the ones that were prophesied in Enoch, and they are lights in the skies. They're the only ones that don't follow their prescribed paths through the firmament.
Exactly.
So they've been used to deceive us, and it's so cool that there's a prophecy that says one day mankind will lose their understanding of what these things are. You know, so we think they're suns light years away, and tests can prove they're not light years away from each other. They're all very close and within the firmament, just like the Bible says.
Wow, man. You know, and now that you said that, I have an answer for him. I really do. Yeah. You know, unfortunately, I don't talk to him no more, because a lot of these guys, once they get the knowledge of God, you know, they go out there and they think that they are better and smarter than everybody else. And I'm absolutely very sure that you know more than I know, and I know more than you know. And it's like, it's not a competition. It's all about spreading the truth. And that's what I try to get to people. Like nobody, like I never really, like I don't become intimidated, like, because I'm all about finding the truth. And if you know things, which in your videos, you have taught me some things, you know what I'm saying? I will admit that 100%. You have taught me some things, if it wasn't for me seeing your video, I probably would have never knew that, but I have one of the questions I had, when I was watching your videos, I had to, like it was so much on my mind, like all through the week. I was like, I had to get some questions down. I'm not going to remember everything. So they say it's better to write down things.
Oh yeah, I'll forget things if I don't have a list. I forget them right away.
One thing that caught me right now before I ask you this question, you sound so much older in the video and look so much younger body wise.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm young. I'm always going to be a kid, but I'm 35.
Wow. Congratulations
35 years
on
old.
that.
Getting old.
God is good. God is good, man.
Yeah.
You're like a hidden, what's that term? A hidden gem. There we go. Like a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
When people hear you, they like, oh, this is an older guy. And they like, wow, God really preserved you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. It's amazing the ages of people that are waking up. I've talked to people who are like, I'm 70 years old and I'm just now discovering this, it's amazing to me. All walks of life. I went to a meetup in Chattanooga near where I live, and there were people of all different ages. I mean, you've seen like all sorts of different people, and none of them look like the kind of people they portray us out to be. Just living in their mom's basement, stuck on the internet. Like it's like some very well-educated people, like some geniuses that I talked to there, and I was just mind blown by some of the wisdom they had.
They keep hidden.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll never know, like, this person that lives in the basement can possibly know the answers to the solutions from half the world away.
Yeah.
One of the questions I got is, do you believe in the rapture? And if so, then is there any connection between the rapture and the flat earth? I mean, not flat earth. I'm not going to use that.
Yeah, the biblical earth.
The biblical earth. There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The biblical earth.
That's one thing when I was first talking to my wife about this, because when I first came into this, it was one of those things. I had just had some miracles happen that were mind-blowing in my life. And I started asking, I was like, well, I know if the Father's listening to me, I'm going to ask him to show me everything. And I'd been doing a lot of evolution hoaxes where I was exposing those hoaxes on my other channel. And it was just out of nowhere. He showed me all of these things about the earth and creation. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot to take in because I thought I was ready for it, but it was just an overload of like the deception and how much, we think we know, and the wisdom of this world being so foolish and what that really means. And so I tried telling my wife about it. She looks at me like, okay, honey, you're crazy. I mean, she just looked at me like really weird. And I'm like, I know this sounds crazy. I wouldn't believe it. I still don't believe it that I'm saying this, but the earth is not moving, we've been lied to. And there's so many questions people have, and you just have to start telling them things. And I talked about, that was one of the first things where I said, well, everybody's going to see the sun when he returns on a ball. Me and her had already had that talk before this movement was, how's everybody going to see him? If we're all going to see him, how is that possible? And then we would go, well, technology, we'll see him on, social media or something. Like we just start filling in things that aren't even near the truth to accommodate our worldview.
Definitely. That's the first answer everybody says. TVs is going to be showing the Lord all across the planet. And I'm like, I don't know. Then I heard about this thing called Project Bluebeam, which is old, but we had that in play too. What was, another question I got for you is, what was the first feeling, the really first feeling you felt when you realized the earth was the way God said it was?
It was like a wave came over me. I remember laying my head back on my couch and just looking up. It kind of felt like the room was spinning, even though the earth had stopped moving. I was laying there just like impressed. I was actually kind of impressed and almost wanted to clap when I realized how many tricks came into pulling this off, how many people it took, and the coordinated effort with the world powers and all of that. It was just like, oh my goodness, I was too impressed to be angry at first, but then the more you see these people deceiving the little children, they target these little kids. They target from an early age. I mean, I try to think back because I heard a guy, he was debating a flat earther on a video, and he was a real smart, educated guy, and he says, yeah, I could see why people believe in that. Any smart person can be deceived after watching a bunch of videos on something. They can just be tricked into believing something. And that was really kind of profound. It stuck out to me, and I thought, how many videos did it take for us to believe the earth was round? How many pictures did it take for us to believe it? I don't remember it ever really taking much of anything other than somebody older than me telling me it's round, and I was like, okay, it's round. Santa Claus is real, and everything that you tell me is real, and I believe everything. So it didn't take a whole lot to convince us it was round. We didn't examine that evidence. We just took it in and believed it. And I think that's what people don't realize is we're examining the evidence really deep, and it's very scientific. We know more about the heliocentric model than we've ever known when we believed in it. So it's just kind of a flip.
That's the same thing about the customs. I was having this conversation with another lady the other day, and she was telling me, I was telling her, because she was telling me, I forgot what she was telling me. Dang, I forgot what she was telling me. But I remember I was telling her that, you say that on Christmas, Jesus is the reason for the season. That's what everybody says.
Yep.
And it's like, so you don't have a Christmas tree in your house. And another thing is, there's a reason why Jehovah's Witnesses don't have Christmas trees in their house. Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate their birthdays. Two things that they're doing correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to give it to them, and I told her the reason why you adjust to this is because of the customs, the customs that you are given into growing up. There's a reason why there is, globes only in schools. I mean, I've rarely, probably once seen a globe in someone's house, and it was like, yeah, someone's house had a globe, but they're always in schools, and there's a reason. And people just don't stop and think, why are there globes only in schools? And they only are, they only believe what NASA gives them. You know what I'm saying? They only believe what NASA gives them, and that's troubling, because that just goes to show you their thinking, their way of thinking. I had these discussions with my, which I don't talk to anymore. I felt that I had to separate from them, but the last communication I had with one of them was about certain things like this, and they just feel like, that they believe whatever the system tells them. And now more than ever, now the Spirit of the Lord is being poured out among the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's no
poured out among the people. So people like you, people like me, are knowing this knowledge, and it's being released to us. And now you can separate people and know, okay, if this person's like this way of thinking, you tell them, and they're in their denial, then if they don't know that the earth is the way God said it was, then they're in that state of deception, delusion, that strong delusion that the Bible was talking about, and I feel like I can't talk to them. And this woman, I was trying to tell her, I was like, listen, you got to wake up. I even showed her my hold on for a second here. I had my microphone. I showed her this, and I'm going to show you this. I wear this every day. I can't show the camera because it has the zoom. The focus, but this is what I wear every day.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if you can actually see it, let the light shine on it right there.
Yeah.
So you actually see it?
Clear? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, this is what I wear. I look down at this, and I'm just going to show this in front of the camera right here. This is the way the earth actually looks. And what I do is I rub this sometimes. Like I touch it and I rub it, and the woman saw me with this on, and she kind of like asked about it, and I said, this is the way the earth looks. When God looks down, he's seeing this. This is the way the nations look to him. And I told her, I touch it sometimes to feel the truth. And that, I think that goes into my next question to you right here. As you know, we are currently in a government shutdown. So since this has happened, the question I have for you is, does this affect NASA in any type of way in covering up the deception?
I've heard, this is something I saw on Facebook, so I believe it's probably true, that 95% of their employees were not able to get paid, collect a paycheck, and work. 95%, which that just tells me there, when you ask, how many of them are in on it, then that means 5% of them are in on it, because those are the ones that are left, the ones that are altering the video feeds, that are doing the masking effects to get rid of the wire harnesses and all the other stuff. Those are the ones they kept on staff, which is 5% of their staff. Wow. That's what I think that kind of gives us an answer to that question.
It's like the people at the top, it's like everyone else below them is like a need to know. Like
there's people at NASA. I think Mike Helmick did a really good interview with 2 former employees, and they were saying that when they came to work, they believed 100% they were making the world a better place. The earth was round. And now they know the truth, but they're like, we didn't know that. We just went there, we get paid. We learned about it just like everybody else. You don't, everything that they tell you, it's not like they're all evil people. There's some really good people that work at NASA, and I'd hate for them to all lose their jobs. I just wish I would be perfectly fine if they were sending things to the firmament, taking pictures of it, bringing it back to us, letting us see it, as opposed to what they're doing. Like, I would pay more money than I am now for space travel or whatever, just so we could see those things.
Yeah, people are scared, huh? Yeah, my wife said they're not going to show it.
Yeah, the closest we have is that Sprite footage where you can see the waves move across it. That's the only thing. That's the first time I've actually really saw there it is, exactly where the rockets are stopping. You have these things. So that, to me, that's the closest we'll get for now. And someday we'll see all this stuff. And there's, the Bible talks about, my brother's doing a video on this, where the firmament will kind of roll away like a scroll. I mean, how is that possible?
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing to hear. The firmament would just roll away like a scroll. Remember, it said the sky and everything would just roll up.
Yeah.
So that right there is amazing. And you know what? I sent you something through email.
Yeah, I saw that just a second ago.
So you didn't watch the video yet, right?
Not all of it. No, I'd started.
My
yeah.
Goodness, you got to see this video. Yeah. You got to see this video. It's. I watched it, and the man, he takes the video feed to a whole nother level. He's got infrared up there. He's got a camera pointing up at the firmament. He's got a camera pointing sideways, like this way and that way. And you can clearly see how level the horizon is. And people in the comments were still under that spirit of deception and still saying, oh, still curvature. It's still this.
Yeah.
It's still like that. And I'm like, you are in complete denial. The truth is, the truth is sitting right in front of people, and they still do not want to listen.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, we could see past, 600,000 feet of missing curve is one of the biggest ones I've seen.
Yes.
That's a lot of missing curve, and people are like, well, maybe Earth is just really big. That's the next thing they go to is it's really big. Although if it's really big, it's going to be spinning faster to rotate within 24 hours. It's going to have to be flying faster. Everything's going to have to change in the entire model to fit that. So
hold on, my wife got some.
That would make no sense. How does that make sense if we don't feel the effects of it?
Yeah.
Moving that fast of something that magnitude and something this big as the Earth, you would feel something. Gravity wouldn't be the way it is.
Yeah.
Just being flat and everything being still, it wouldn't be the way it is. And people will actually take the time to actually think about, well, if it's something this big as the Earth going that fast, and he's right, to make it in 24 hours, you would feel the effects of something. You could feel an earthquake that's 3 point something, right? This would be that much more faster.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, I saw that video too, where the guy was in the airplane, and you can literally see Lake Superior, I think it's called.
Yeah.
In the horizon, and it's like going all the way up, and it's like 1,000 miles away, and I'm like, wow, you can see that far up. So the next thing that I have a question off the top of my head. Literally, it's like, what do you feel? How do you feel about the North Pole?
I would love to go there. I'm actually, this summer we're going to Australia, and I'm excited about that. But my goal, I would love to go that direction. I don't think it's what they tell us. I believe that it's exactly where they tell us, or that it looks like what they tell us it looks like. I just think they have these ceremonial places that we just go.
Are you talking about the South Pole or the North Pole?
The North Pole.
I'm talking about the North Pole.
Yeah, the North Pole.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I believe, I don't know. I feel like where we go and we see and we think is the North Pole. I mean, that may be the actual North Pole. I don't know. I would love to take a compass and just travel and see and just kind of explore those directions. That would be very interesting to kind of see. But I would like to be looking straight up over my head and see Polaris stationary right there with everything going around it, to just kind of verify that's where you're at and see how things move. Watch the sun circle around you for 24 hours.
Yes, these are things I would like to see with my own naked eyes too. But you know what? As far as the government shutdown going on, I feel like our time is like very, very short right now. It's like it's getting ready to go off. Because I think too many people are knowing the truth. The truth is unraveling itself. I seen people in your comments that were like, "Oh my God, the Earth is the way it is," and people were like, "Welcome, my child, to the truth." Yeah. They were saying, "Welcome, come now, you see."
Yeah.
Another thing that I got to say is, I've noticed. I noticed you make connections between the biblical earth and God's word, the Bible. So my question is how has, there we go. I worded this wrong here.
Yeah.
Struggling over here. My question is, how has your viewers reacted to that? And I think you already answered that question. You said that they don't like. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mix. I have a mix of people. I have some people, when I do a video like the one about the Jesus hoax that's kind of taken off where everybody thinks he's a hoax, and did a video about that. Some people were like, "Wow, this really explains well. I wish you'd do more videos like this." And some people are like, "You need to stick to just fake space and flat Earth stuff. Quit getting off topic. This is all we want to hear," And I understand that to them that stuff is really important. And it is. The shape of the earth, I think the reason why the Bible opens up talking about how the earth was made, and that it was made before the sun and the moon, and that it was here, and that, that's something that's important. Otherwise, it wouldn't be at the very front of the book that he wants us to read. It's the opening lines of the book, literally.
Have you ever read the book of Enoch?
Yes, I actually right after the awakening. Yeah, it was one of those things that I thought I need to look into this, because I feel like there's some missing parts. And when you read that book, it's like, wow, that's how the earth became so evil, and that's what's been going on before our chapter, because we only seem to see the world in our chapter and very small little points along the way. But to see the entire corruption of earth makes everything make a lot more sense.
The book of there is another book, believe it or not. It's called The Life of Adam and Eve. I don't even know what to even think of this. If you want me to send you want me to send the audio recording of it, the whole book, I can do that. Yeah. I don't even know what to think of this. Like, seriously, like, I'm still like up in the air, because there was truths in it that match with the Bible. At one point in time, God, the supposed character of God in the book, I'm going to say it like that until I know the actual truth. I'm not going to say God himself, but the actual character who is God, or should I say play God, said that since Adam was acting up throughout the whole book, man, he just couldn't keep himself. He was like a little 4-year-old child, just kept getting scared of the dark. He was scared of the dark, and God said to him that I'll send you I'll you know, he spoke about the last day a lot, and he said in 5,000 years, your Savior is going to come to redeem or something like that.
Yeah.
And that matches with the time span from Adam to Jesus.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And I'm going to send it to you. It's called The Life and Time of Adam and Eve. And then the devil pops up in there. And then Adam gets mad at Eve because Eve was tricked yet again, because the devil popped up in human form and was like, oh, well, this is, you know, he did like most of the brothers today when they pick up women off the street, you know, get their phone number. That's what the devil was doing to Eve.
Yeah.
And Adam came along and was like, well, what are you doing with that person? You know, like, don't you know that's the devil? And she looked at the person and was like, oh my God, it's the devil. Oh my God. Like, like, and then the devil was like, oh, I've been caught, you know, my wife is here now. Like, you know, so, you know, and, he just disappeared. Wow. And then God put them in a cave, and it was kind of hard to tell what exactly was going on. So the devil was, he disappeared, and then God put them in the cave, and Adam, I guess he jumped off a cliff and then died, and then God brought him back because Eve was crying in the cave, and then Adam was scared. He was scared of the dark and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wow. And it goes into such great detail, from the fact that they were kicked out of the garden. And it's just like the Bible said with the swords in garden, you know, the angels were guarding the garden. It mentioned that. It mentioned a lot of stuff from the Bible. And I'm like, I'm still scratching my head because I let another brother of mine named Brother Sam, you know, if you want to find him on YouTube, I think his YouTube is, I think that's it. But he's another knowledgeable brother like yourself, and he didn't know what to think of it. Like, we were just sitting here listening to this audio recording of this. It was a recording of a guy reading the book, so it's like he's reading it for us, and we're listening. We don't know what to think of this book and what it was, so we're still scratching our heads. So I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me. That'd be sweet.
Definitely. You got to take time to listen to this. It's long. It's a little lengthy, but I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
My next question is, what do you think the firmament looks like?
You see, that's the thing that's really intrigued me a lot, because you can only see it like when those sprites were shooting out of it. And I believe, you know, we look up, we can see the stars through it. I think it's like beautifully clear, just like a crystal clear spring in a way, some sort of energy barrier. But I don't know. It just has so much, there's just so much unique properties. I believe the complexity of our system is it's just so complex that we couldn't use science to wrap our minds around it in regular observations. Like, we're going to actually have to just go and see it for ourselves to really start to comprehend. I don't know. I mean, if we were all to just be able to go and see it, I just think people would lose their minds. I think it's just so spectacular. I think we would just freak out. I mean, it would be I probably couldn't handle it, honestly. If I could just go to it right now, it would blow my mind seeing how gigantic everything is.
You know, that video I sent you, he does uploads. He sends balloons up in the air all the time. I have another brother that is in complete denial of the way the earth is, and he says it's curvature, this and that and the other. And I sent him the video, the same one I sent you, and I said, look how flat that is. The first people that went up in the sky before NASA said it was flat as a disc.
Yeah. And back to what your wife was saying about the movements of Earth, and they always say how we can't detect it and all of that, even though it's way faster than, you've seen those jets break the sound barrier. It's going hundreds of times faster than that, and it's not moving in a straight line. The argument they give us is, well, you can throw up a paper ball on a plane and catch it, and yes, you can, but the plane's flying straight. Actually, I'm sorry, it's tipping its nose down, it's flying with the curve. But we could throw a paper ball up and catch it on a plane. But if the plane was going in an arced path and at the speeds, I mean, the astronomical speeds, I mean, when somebody like a human on Earth goes like 700 miles per hour, it almost kills them just from 0 to that. But we're going 490,000 miles per hour. You can't even see that with your eyes. I mean, imagine looking at a bullet flying through the air with your naked eye. You couldn't see it, right? You have to use super slow motion cameras. And then imagine somebody standing on the front of that bullet. Could they feel it at all times? Yes. I mean, it seems like it's crazy. And that's going like 100 times slower than Earth. I mean, it's ridiculous how fast we're moving. And these balloons go up above the atmosphere, which is supposedly moving with the Earth, and they come back down really close to where they left. And the same with those people before NASA, the Air Force was sending them up. Operation Man High, I think it was, with Kittinger. He went up. He was one of the highest flying people in a gondola. He went up there, kind of like Picard, who said the Earth was like a flat disc with an upturned edge. And these guys would go straight up, and they'd come down really close to where they took off within a couple miles, which just seems to me impossible. If you go that high, the Earth would leave you in a millisecond. I mean, flying back from the moon to the Earth would not be where it was when you came. You know what I mean? It's like
we never even we know we never went to the moon.
Yeah,
it's the biggest argument I always throw up at people is God said that there's water above. How did they get above the water? If balloons pop and rockets explode, how did we get there? We never went there. It's all a lie.
Yeah, that to me is something people are starting to wrap their head around. Even I've had a lot of comments of, yes, we didn't go to the moon, but Earth is still round, and that's where I was probably 2 years ago. Is I obviously knew that we didn't go to the moon, and I had figured out that 9/11 was an inside job, and that's one of those things that a lot of people figure out, and people are okay with that. They're like, yeah, okay, the government blew up a bunch of people, that's good. And it's like, well, Earth is stationary. What? You got to be kidding me! I'm so angry now. And it's like, you were perfectly cool with thousands of people being sacrificed and blown up and killed because of our world powers who've been planning this stuff for Lord knows how long, and they're okay with that. But you get the Earth being stationary, and they just lose their minds. I've never seen such anger in all my life.
We could go off into that conversation if you want. It's not all about the Earth. I would like to know what your knowledge is about all these other things. My next question is: I've seen many videos of balloons going high in the sky, but what's your thoughts on why the balloon pops?
Well, the thing is, as high as these things go, because from what I believe is that you can only go about 73, 75, depending on where you're at on Earth. I don't know the exact shape of the firmament, but you can only get about 70 plus miles high, and that's as high as you can go. That's as high as I've ever seen Earth from, and that was that Go Fast rocket. It went there really quick before it came to an instant stop. Balloons usually get, I think the world record is like 32 miles or something like that. And I think just the air pressures, and they design them that way to where they'll only go so high and then they'll pop. They have that rubber material. They expand, and then they just get so much pressure. And plus the conditions, it's really cold and everything, they explode. But if we were to make them out of something else, like the NASA satellites that are balloon plastic, this really strong plastic, that stuff will stay up in the air for ages. So I don't know how high they would go exactly, but the early days of fake space, right? When they were sending up stuff, they sent up, it's called, what was that operation called? They sent up a balloon, and this balloon was gigantic. If they've actually inflated it on Earth, it was huge.
Paperclip?
It was before. It was around the time of Operation Paperclip. I'll have to send you some video to it.
I know it too. It's off the top of my tongue. It's there. I can't.
They sent up a balloon and inflated it 1,000 miles above Earth, 1,000 miles, and inflated this balloon. And they did it. It came back down to Earth. Project Echo. That's what it's called. Project Echo. And they said they successfully inflated it, but it popped, and so it came back down to Earth. Well, it was 1,000 miles above Earth. That's higher than the ISS. The ISS is a couple hundred miles away. So you're telling me it would have stayed had it been inflated, but since it popped, it fell back down? So
that's another thing. I have to ask you, satellites. How do you feel about satellites?
That's the thing. I believe in satellites. I've seen them. I know they're up there, but they aren't orbiting Earth, the way we see them, they are mostly attached to these balloons, and we have seen hundreds of launches of these things attached to these balloons. When they crash down, it's like, oh, it was just a weather balloon, no big deal. So I mean, they don't really skip a beat, and that's why they're geostationary. A lot of them, they get above the wind currents, they can just float.
Sorry about that sound. Mm-hmm. You can hear it.
No, I couldn't hear it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, they're geostationary. It's like they just have all these different rules with space. Like, okay, everything orbits. Okay, well, some things don't. We can get them in a certain place, and they stay perfectly still. Really, there's no sitting still in space. Everything's moving at those speeds that they give us. So it just, none of it makes sense. And people go, well, you just don't believe in it because you can't wrap your mind around it. Who could wrap their mind around this stuff? I mean, it's stuff they've made up. There's nobody in space with a radar gun going, that's how fast the Earth is going. We just believe it. Nobody's ever detected those speeds with any instrument other than watching the sun go by and assuming it's millions of miles away. We just believe it. It's a faith-based religion that we were all a part of, and it's sad because we've missed out on so many years of seeing creation the right way.
God called us out of these things. Christmas, birthdays. Can you believe that? Birthdays. I did a YouTube video about birthdays. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, my goodness. You will never look at your birthday the same again. The reason why I mention this is because God called us out of these pagan cultures, and that's what all this surrounds by. The planets, each one has is a name of a god, and people are still not getting the point. They're still not getting the point. Like, if it's sun god, Sunday worship, church Sunday, and they have no problem with this, and they don't understand.
Yeah,
they
say get in the holiday spirit, and then it's get in the Christmas spirit, get in the Halloween spirit. You'll never hear them say get in the Holy Spirit. I mean, that's never anything you hear. It's, are you in the? That's not. You don't have the Christmas spirit. Look at you. Yeah, I don't want the Christmas spirit. Like literally Christ death spirit. I think is what that means. Like. It's just not something that, and it's weird because I never thought anything about it until, me and my wife got married, and a couple years ago we just stopped putting out a tree. We're like, the conviction of it all is like, we read about it in the Bible, like, oh my goodness, this is here. They said don't do it like the pagans, and we're doing it for a reason.
One scripture is Leviticus chapter 18, I think verse 3. Is another one that you should look at, where when God called them out of Egypt, he says, whatever you learn there, leave it there. Where I'm taking you, don't bring that there.
Yeah.
People still brought it, So I say, if God hated paganism yesterday, he's going to hate it today too. He's going to change and say, well, it's okay to celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Birthdays is self-glorification. Birthdays is worship of the personality. When we celebrate someone's birthday, we give them cake, right? Guess what the pagans did? They gave cake. When we celebrate a person's birthday, we give them gifts. Guess what the pagans did? They gave gifts. They had candles. And nobody's wrapping their heads around that. Except for a few people. When I uploaded the video, one woman was like repenting of all the birthdays she ever celebrated. And that is a good thing. That is an awakening.
Yeah.
Awakening. My next question is, how much time do we have in the camera? Do you think there is a lot of spiritual activity near the firmament? Has anyone ever captured anything on film?
See, that's one thing that I haven't looked much into, but I have a lot of viewers when I put out the Sprite video, because the name Sprite actually means disembodied spirit. I didn't know that until I made a video about it and looked it up. But when these sprites shoot out, the Book of Enoch tells us that and this sounded ridiculous when I first heard it, that he saw when he's going around being shown things by these angels, that he saw these stars would rise up and become lightning, but they would not lose their form. So basically, I'd picture a star just kind of coming up and going boom and shooting lightning out of the firmament, but it stays where it's at and it keeps its form. And so when you watch that footage, you'll literally see a star light up in the background right before these sprites shoot out of the firmament. I mean, it's just amazing. And people say, I had this guy, he sent me pictures in an email. He said, I was looking at your footage. He said, I always see things like this when I'm looking up at the sky. I see weird things. He said, look at this picture. And he sent me a screenshot of the firmament of the sprite shooting out, and it looked like something with horns, like this evil being with horns. I was like, that's freaky. He's like, I'm sorry to send this to you. He's like, it is freaky. And but I was like, wow, that is pretty cool. And then I've heard many other people say the same thing, that they've seen these like almost like beings within these sprites, which I don't know if there's anything to that or if it's just chance and we're always kind of looking for faces and seeing things. But I thought that was pretty interesting looking, to say the least. But I don't know. I know there are some spiritual things going on constantly that we don't see and aren't aware of that are happening. I mean, there's miracles happening, but the powers of darkness are really working overtime right now to kind of solidify their plans and keep up what they're doing. They just have to keep the mankind distracted for a little bit longer. And so they're pulling out all the distractions. I mean, 2019, look at how many Disney movies are coming out. I mean, it's like they want us to be in front of a TV, seeing that the bad guys are the cool guys, but they happen to lose at the end, and all these different things. It's just like, I mean, you look at how cool these bad guys look. It's like, I have a little kid I know, he's obsessed with the bad guys because they look so cool. They just always lose in the end. And it makes you think, some of these people, they identify with that bad guy because it's super powerful. And then here's this little bitty weak good guy who wins somehow.
Yeah, my wife got something to say here.
Yeah.
I was just thinking,
yeah.
How much of noise can water handle, since there's water above? Noise from the earth and all noise from heaven. How much can the water handle? You know what I mean? Like, we've seen, remember that video we saw the ripple effects?
Oh yeah, the stars have frequencies.
Ripple effects? Either, like, we're really far, but how much can the water handle of sound?
Well, God's knowledge is infinity, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, if he made it, then it can hold as much as possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's amazing that we've tested it. Like, there's documents released from Russia that were declassified about tests they were doing with the firmament. And you look at, I mean, people think that we're against all these other countries when they really up top, they worked together and did these things and they formed the Antarctic Treaty, but they were doing lots of things to the firmament, trying to blow it up, similar to the Tower of Babel, where they literally believed that when they got there, they were going to break through it, take over heaven. They had these evil intentions. It wasn't like we're just going to go touch it. No, we're going to go up there and we're going to take over. That's what we're going to do. And they believed it. And if you've ever read the book of Jasher, it talks about it. And the book of Jubilees, you were talking about that book earlier, but there's a book called the Sefer that we got, just kind of looking to some of those lost books. It has all the lost books in it, yes, like Enoch and all of that. And so there's some interesting things. And it's like you said, it's very descriptive. You see things that you don't see in the Bible about Nimrod and how things just kind of got the way they were, how the Tower of Babel was constructed. I mean, it's crazy. These people were building it so zealously that if somebody fell off, they didn't even watch them fall. They just kept building and just kept building and building. I mean, it's pretty, yeah. It's like, there he goes. There goes another one. Let's just keep building, guys. We got to get there. And so they did build it pretty high, and really had those intentions. And I think that's the way our government was. And I don't know how all that went down once they realized they couldn't blow it up, or what God did to them, or how things happened. But it was like, all of a sudden now we just have Antarctic Treaty, can't go there. Nobody knows. Your average person's never going to be able to go there and see it. So it's just speculation.
I have about a couple more questions, and then I want to talk to you about a different topic there. Did any adult give you the inspiration for your faith and research? Yeah.
My dad, it's funny, my dad was in the Air Force. He's real wise when it comes to the word. And me and him, I was waking up. I mean, it was just like, I had been asking the Father, just please wake me up. I know I'm walking around sleeping, one foot in the grave. I'm so distracted. And it's like, I just felt like I was doomed to fail the way I was going. I needed a wake-up call. I knew he was real. He had already healed me and shown me he was real before, and just totally different than what the mainstream thinks he is. And I was asking for all these things, and out of nowhere, my mom comes up to us with this cancer diagnosis where she's got like 2 months to live. And I was like, oh my, I don't know what to do. She was like I was when I was with my heartbreak, and I had depression and wanted to like end it all because it was so much pain when you've had a really bad heartbreak. And you think we deserve it. We're kind of programmed to believe that bad things are happening to me. God's punishing me. I was bad. I deserve it. And we condemn and we condemn. And it's a cycle, and it makes people in their life very often. And I was having those images in my mind constantly of just ending it and being like, you know what, this is so much pain.
I'm so happy
I
that you
deserve it.
broke through that.
But it was crazy. The miracle when the Father healed me from my broken heart, when it was the miracle that happened to me 10 years ago or more. He was showing me things that were so beautiful that I didn't understand while I was suffering, because you always go, why me? Why is this happening to me? I know I've been bad, but do I really deserve all this? And why are you punishing me? And it was like, I have never left you. I have always loved you and been here for you. And these guidelines I've given you to keep me first aren't to put me on this pedestal. It's to keep you from being where you are right now, which is on your face, crying and broken down. I had leaned on the world, and when the world fell away, that's where I ended up. I ended up falling, because you're leaning on it, and when you're leaning on something and it falls, you fall with it. And that's what had happened. If I had kept him first, like I should have done, and not got sidetracked and put a woman first and my job first and, competition first, all these things I had first, when they fell away, I fell away. So he healed me and showed me these things. He's this loving Father. And the reason we have these rules is it's the same reason you would tell your child, don't cross the road without looking, or hold my hand if you're going to cross that road.
Man, that connection you just made, man. You're a genius at making connections.
Yeah, but that's the connection he made with me is spiritually. It was just like he was showing me these things, and I'm like, so you're just a loving Father, and you didn't want me to end up here, so you gave me some guidelines that were actually really genius now that I think about it. And my mom was in my shoes going, I haven't been a perfect person. I deserve this, and this is my time to go. And she's only 55, at the time. And I'm like, you don't deserve this. This is not the Father's will. And so I just asked God, I said, please, Father, speak to my mother like you did to me. Show her your love and your compassion and all that. And the next day I'm at work, and I get a text from my mom. She says, you won't believe it, but God just spoke to me. Oh, wow. And I was like, I believe it. I believe it 110%. And so I was like, wow, I need to get out and start praying. Father, you're listening to me. I want to ask you more stuff. I want to ask you more. And around the time I'm having this awakening, and I'm working on another channel trying to just fight the lies of who the Father is. And while I'm doing all this, I'm talking to my dad, and he says, son, I want you to look at the Bible, because he was having this awakening too. He said, I want you to look at the Bible as if you've never seen it before, and as if no one's ever told you anything about it. And I was like, okay, that's good advice. I'm going to do that.
Good advice.
And not long after that, my mom's having her chemo, and she went to a different doctor, and they always try to give you chemo. I'm against it. I knew the Father was going to heal her without it, but everybody talked her into it, and so she went through with it. And I just said, please, this stuff is poison. I know it's poison. It's poison from the enemy. I don't want her to have it. I asked that it not affect her at all. There be no side effects. And day one, she texted me and says, I'm not feeling any of this. And she said, but day 3 is supposed to be the worst day ever. And day 2 came and went. She said, I actually feel better than I did before the treatment, before anything.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
While you're in mid-sentence, something popped in my head. I was watching, I hate to interrupt you.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But I couldn't help. But when you said chemo and stuff like that, I was watching a documentary about people who are assisted suicide in Oregon. And there was this woman. I can't, as soon as you talk about your mom and chemo, I couldn't help but just tell you this. This is woman that was on chemo, and she became better. Like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that chemo works and you're wrong. I'm not saying that. But I want you to hear this. It's the chemo helped her, and someone was praying for her or something like that. So she was taking it, and then she stopped, I think she stopped. I can't remember correctly. I'll have to send you that documentary too. But I don't know if I can find it again, because they're taking so much stuff down from the internet.
Yeah.
She got better. She was coming out of her terminal illness. She was coming out of it. and she got better. Her hair was growing back. And you know what she did? She went back to her worldly ways. And guess what? The terminal illness came back. This time it killed her.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't help but think, were you matching up God and your mom and everything?
Yeah.
And I was like, this woman was coming out of her illness, and I believe that God was giving her a chance. And she wasn't even taking the chemo now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was a chance that she missed, man.
Oh, yeah. We miss those opportunities. We don't go and I know I'm so guilty of not going and spreading the good news and the things that happened to me. Like, I felt guilty for years for not going off and just testifying all the time about what he had shown me when he healed me. And when this happened to my mom, and she was going through the chemo, and day 3 came and went, and she had no side effects, and her hair never fell out, and she just seemed to glow, and she just looked healed. I mean, she didn't look like she was sick at all, and nobody believed her that she had cancer and was going through chemo. And so I knew there was that the Father was working, and his compassion was being shown. And that's when I just said, show me the truth about creation. And I asked that it gives glory to you. And I said, I'm ready. I thought I was ready. And he showed it to me, and I was not ready at the time. Like I thought I can handle anything. But it was just, it was a lot.
That happened to me too, plenty of times.
Yeah.
God says, no. Sit back down, Job. Sit down.
Yeah.
The same thing would go on with Job, There was a video on my Facebook, our Facebook, we share it. There's a video on there about a guy who did the same thing, asked the Lord for a vision and everything, and God gave it to him the next day. He was at Judgment Day. He was in line. You got to go see that video.
Oh, I think I've seen that video. He's really
Rod Pickens or something like that.
Yeah.
Rodney? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that video is impressive. I saw that a while back. I was really impressed. That was really intense, to say the least. Yeah.
Tense.
Yeah.
Yes. Is your mother still with us here?
Yeah, she.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, she actually had when she came off of everything and she was given the clear. I mean, she was given the "You're cancer-free" speech within a short amount of time.
I'm happy for you. Like I was hoping that nothing happens.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, well, they told her she was, I mean, the very first glimpse of what they told her, because she was eaten up with cancer. She had a false diagnosis from her gynecologist. He had been telling her that she was just having certain pains because of monthly cycles and just making stuff up. He really shouldn't have been just assuming things, because she would go to the emergency room in pain. And the pain was from a giant tumor that had been growing and growing. And by the time they finally had the surgery, the doctor that spotted it was like, I don't want to tell you this, but you're eaten up with cancer. It's on your lungs, your intestines. I mean, it's everywhere. You've got a couple months, maybe, Oh my goodness, so that was one of those things where usually that diagnosis, people are gone, and it's just through the grace of the Father that she's still here and alive and well to testify about it. I mean, it's for all she's gone through, raising 4 kids pretty much by herself. She really, I mean, it was one of those things where it's been a blessing to all of us.
I got 2 more questions for you. How do you pick the topics you study? Oh, wait. My bad. I got 3. Well, you know what? Go ahead and answer that first.
It's weird. I know my videos are so random, and the topics, I never put out the same exact type of content over and over and over, because I try not to do what I like, focus on one particular thing or fit into one particular category, and just whatever the Father wants me to learn or teach or show, I kind of go by that. And occasionally I do just put out things that I think are interesting and I think are cool. It's not like it was really him leading me to put that out. I would just think, wow, this is really cool, I want to share it. And so there's those types of videos, but there's some of those videos, I think that the more touching videos are the ones that I'm like, just show me what to say and show me how to teach this to the people that need to hear it, because my words aren't going to come out the way I want them to if I'm just speaking to be heard. And that's one of those things early on in my walk, was when I was younger, and I had a crazy vision happen when I was like 17, where the Father sent a messenger to me to tell me to get everybody ready and to make sure I was ready. And I was a 17-year-old, really, for the first time in my life, feeling convictions and going through temptations as a believer. And it was really a tough time, but it was like I was a shy, 100%, never said a word in class kind of kid. And I asked this lady, I said, why would he want me to speak or do anything if I'm so shy? And she said, well, have you ever thought that maybe God wants people to speak that don't want to be heard? And I was like, wow. I was like, I never thought of that. Because she said, you see a lot of people out there who are speaking because they want to be heard. And I was like, wow, that really sat with me and kind of put me at ease, because I felt like, why would he want to torture me? Because I had public speaking in college, and I got a C in that class, trying my best, because I get in front of that podium and almost faint.
My goodness.
So,
wow. I remember I did the interview at a radio station. I was being interviewed, and I was excited. I think you almost faint. I just overjoyed the segment. Like I get all antsy and whatnot.